In this tutorial, I'd like to show you a text effect, and mainly how to make a sort of a glowing text effect using layer styles and smart filters. So, because we're using smart filters, it means we can't go back in Photoshop forever if we want to maintain editability. So we can go back and edit the filter at any time. So the effect is totally doable in all versions of Photoshop quite a while back. But if you have CS3 or later, you're going to be able to use smart filters, which are really, really cool. So I've got my canvas open here, and I'm going to start by grabbing my text tool. I'm going to use Futura. I'm going to use a medium. I've set the font size quite large. So let's see how we get this. I'm going to type glowing for this example. And next, I'm going to go into my blending options by right-clicking on the layer, selecting blending options. And I'm going to go to gradient overlay. And I'm not going to make the apple gradient. I'm not going to make this one. I am going to select and grab colors. And I'm going to first grab a blue, a lighter blue color here. And for the other white side, I'm going to go and grab in the same shade of blues here. I'm going to grab a little bit of a darker, but still very colorful. And maybe I'll make this a little lighter, a little more colorful. Something like that. Make sure the opacity is set to 100. And especially when you do this, so this might be a bit too bright. Let's get this down a bit, and let's get this down a bit as well. Something like this looks really good. Alright, so we now have our text, and this is what we're going to work on to create the effect. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go to filter, and I'm going to go convert for smart filters. And this means it's basically making a smart object of this. So at any time we can edit this smart object, and the text will edit automatically. And this is very important for all of our layers that we're going to use for this. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate these using the shortcut Command J or Control J on the PC. And this is not going to break the link to the smart object. So if I edit one smart object, the other one will follow because it's the same smart object it's using. So next up, I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to apply a filter. And I'm doing this to the bottom one now. So I'm going to apply a motion blur. And I'm going to apply one first with the angle set at 0, and you can play around with the distance as far as you'd like. I think going about 100 here looks good. And then I'm going to add another motion blur, and the trick here is to go to the filter menu and hover over the latest used filter, hold down your Alt or Option key, and you're going to get the dialog box. You can change the settings. And now what we want to do is we want to set an angle to 90, but we want to reduce the distance. Actually, what we want to do for that is to duplicate the layer, then go into the, and go in and edit this motion blur. So, as you can see here, motion blur, double click on that. Now we can change that to 90 because we want another instance of this to go up. Choose a fairly low distance here, something like this. I'm going back to the first layer here. I'm gonna go to filter, and I'm gonna add under stylize. I'm gonna find wind, and I'm gonna take just the regular wind method. I'm gonna do it from the left. Then I'm gonna go in again, choose wind, and I'm gonna do from the right as well. And you see that added just a little bit of edge to the motion blur drag out effect here. All right, so now I have the base here. So you see here we have the glowing text. We're gonna make this more glowing too. So we have the base, but we have a little fading text up here. So I'm gonna select that layer, the glowing copy, and I'm gonna right click, select blending options here. And first I'm gonna make sure we set an inner glow. And this inner glow is going to be a little bit different because we're going to set this to normal first. And we're going to set the color of the glow to be fairly dark here. And I'm going to increase the size slightly, decrease the opacity just a bit. Alright, so we see it's beginning to glow slightly. Next, I'm going to add an outer glow. This is also going to be normal. And I'm going to select a blue color again. This one is going to glow. I'm going to increase the size quite a bit here. We're almost beginning to lose the text now, but don't worry. So something like this, reduce or increase the range here, reducing the size of the glow slightly. And then to make sure we're not overdoing this here and making sure we don't have too much diffusion between the text and the background. Actually, I'm going to reduce the opacity of the inner glow just a tad more. Then we're going to go to stroke. And this stroke is going to be a 1 pixel stroke. And we want to I'm grabbing using the eyedropper, a blue color. And I'm just going to go slightly to the right here and down to make a color that's just going to make an edge. So you could go light, of course. It almost looks nice here. So I'm going to go light here. And you want to do just slightly lighter here. And you can bring down the opacity later if it was a bit too much. And that is sort of a glowing effect here. If you want, you can make it glow lighter at the inside, but I think the dark glow there works. So this is a glowing text that you have, and you have 3 layers now. One controls the left and right wind motion or blur motion, and one controls up and down. So if you like the effect just with one motion blur here, you have that. If you like it with the up and down, you have that. But I think both looks fairly nice here, so I'm gonna stick with both. Now the benefit here is if you double click one of the smart objects, it doesn't matter which one, because all of them are copied from the same one. So once I edit one, since we haven't broken the link, if I click here OK, and if I'm gonna change the text here, I can change it to, let's change it to glow. And I'm also gonna change the gradient overlay here. Let's just make this one a little lighter and this one a little lighter. And I'm going to save that. I'm going to close down. And you see that we get an immediate update to say glow. And the text is just a slight bit lighter here. So this is the text effect. We've been making a glowing text effect using 3 layers, smart objects, smart filters, and of course the lovely layer styles and blending options. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.